Does that look good to everyone? Yeah,
looks good. Yeah, it looks good. Thanks, Emma. So Emma, do you want to start by introducing yourself?
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Emma. I'm a program supervisor at Calgary Seniors Resource Society. And I work in the social supports department. So we provide the volunteer services for seniors.
Awesome, thanks. And I'm AJ Matsuni. I work in Calgary Recreation at the City of Calgary. And I have worked on our active aging strategy for the last number of years, which is part of the Seniors Age Friendly strategy, which I also had the opportunity to work on a few years ago. So thank you for having us today. We really appreciate the chance to come and talk to you and to hear from you, I hope. So maybe if we could just take a minute to introduce the rest of you as well, so we know who we're talking to. And one of the things I like about these online is your name is on the bottom of the screen. So it makes it a lot easier for me to remember everyone's name. But if for some reason your name doesn't appear the way that you want us to refer to you, just give us a heads up so that we know and can address you the way you like to be addressed. So if I can just invite people and to maybe just to start to introduce themselves and one thing that they enjoy or like that starts with the same letter as their name. And also, if anyone wants to tell us a little bit about what you're doing with Calgary Cares or your involvement, we would be happy to hear that too, as I'm sure it will help inform what Emma and I have to say. So are people good to just jump in and introduce themselves, or should I set an order in the chat? Okay. Oh, go ahead. Perfect.
Sure. My name is Jill. So the first thing that comes to mind with Jay's that I enjoy, I guess, would be jigsaw puzzles. I like doing puzzles once in a while, a couple times a year, probably. The reason that I'm attending the Calgary Cares program is around my connection with Calgary Alliance for the Common Good. I'm part of a social isolation team. And so I'm exploring how to reduce the number of socially isolated people in Calgary.
Awesome. Thanks, Jill.
Well, I'm Susan Chivers, and I can't think of something starting with S, so I'm sorry about that. But I mean, I no longer ski, but I sometimes snowshoe, I guess. But I became involved with this program through what I saw on the Calgary Alliance for the Common Good information that our church is a member. I'm a member of an Anglican church, but I'm also a pastoral visitor at the Foothills Hospital. And of course, we can't do that right now. And so the reason I got involved was because I thought this would help when I do return to that. But of course, being nearly 80 myself, it's I don't think of myself as a senior anyway.
Thank you.
I'm Marina, and I like munching. I'm here because I work at St. Mary's University, and I'm kind of the person coordinating, emailing everybody and getting you in the right places at the right time.
Okay, so hi, I'm Nancy. And Nancy is nice. To be naughty too, but today I'm nice. Let's see. So why am I here? I'm here because I'm preparing for my retirement. I'm just months away, perhaps. I haven't really set a date yet, but getting closer, especially with the nicer weather. And I would like to be able to maybe leave the workforce, but not abandon, any and all communication with the outside world. I would still like to be able to, be active and useful and do some kind of meaningful work, actually probably even more meaningful than what I'm doing right now. So I'm looking forward to finding where I actually will end up. I'm looking forward to discovering what that's going to be like for me, and I'm very excited about the future. So thank you for the opportunity.
That's so cool. Thanks.
My name's Diana. I can't think of much except digesting books. I read a lot. I'm also with the Scarborough United Church, which is part of the Alliance, and I'm on the team with Jill for the social isolation. And I'm active at our church in the pastoral care area. So working with a lot of those folks, and a lot of them are seniors, and then even people in my own life, just understanding, because we're all getting to be, in my own life anyway, most of my friends are getting, in the senior category. So just being able to understand and gather up the resources that are out there to make use of. So thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Francoise. I'm here because I just completed the internship I had with my school, St. Mary's, and with the Calgary Seniors Resource Society. And I was the lead content creator and storyboarder of the Ageism module, which I hope some of you have looked at. An F is a hard letter. I like figuring things out. I like friends and family. And yeah, it's lovely to be here. Thanks. I'm going to be keeping my camera off for a bit because people might be walking in the background. But if I do speak later, I'll turn it back on.
Thank you.
I could probably jump in next. I'm Catherine with Calgary Seniors Resource Society. I'm manager there. And I like cake, and I just can't get past cake. I can't think of anything else with a C, so it's got to be cake. There we go. A fresh cream and chocolate, and that's all good. So my role really with the Calgary Cares program was not only to to think about some of the learning opportunities that we could provide to adults in the community who are interested in this. But also to support Francoise, who's just introduced herself, with the development of a new online learning module. So yeah, I've been really happy and excited to support St. Mary's University in doing both of those things. Yeah.
Okay, I think I'll go. So my name's Erna. He's a hard one. I guess encouraging relationships. Before I had kids, I was a recreation therapist, so always been really fond of the senior population, and like to just get back to working with them again in some way or form. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Thanks, Erna.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else who would like to join in and share, or shall we move on?
I will. I'm Joe. I enjoy jogging, but I can't jog too fast anymore. But I have been a part of this because I'm fairly new to it. This is 5 years, came to join family here, my wife and I. And a paramount thing that I've noticed in northern British Columbia, where I was from, and Calgary, is also that seniors sometimes in your churches, in your groups, come to a certain point where they no longer can participate. And how do we keep in contact with them? How do we do this? And I through some of the talks, I've got ideas, and I hope to get back to them about these ideas, because I think it's so important, especially those that don't have a backup in the community, to be there for them. So yeah, thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Melanie, and I like to be in the mountains. So yeah, and also to mingle with with different communities. I joined this community because I'd like to be part of the support for the senior community.
Awesome.
And thanks for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you all for sharing. I think that's everyone. If I missed someone, jump in now. Okay, thanks for introducing yourselves and for your excellent alphabetical skills. I'm quite impressed. So it's really good to hear about what you've been doing and what some of your motivation is. Emma, we can go to the social isolation slide, I think. So I think you probably are pretty familiar with some of this terminology and words, but I think what we're hoping to talk to you today about is both social isolation and volunteerism, and some of the work that we're both doing and some that we're doing together in these areas, and hopefully again continue to do what some of you are talking about, help you think of ways to connect, to understand some of these things a little bit better, or what your role in it is. So it's really exciting to hear people who, what I heard is a lot of people wanting to find their role in this space. So that's super cool. So this is a definition of social isolation that we have, and yeah, and I think there's probably lots of different definitions, but I think this is pretty common. So I guess I think right now in COVID, we're certainly aware that social isolation, there's two things. Is one, that it has been increased through COVID for all people. Some of your natural ways of connecting are just not, we've had to learn new ways to do that. And so there's a concern for all people. We're going to speak largely today to how it impacts older adults and the types of things available, both for older adults to be involved and to benefit from. And so, yeah, and then the other piece is that although it's sort of emphasized through COVID, we are also aware that social isolation, as a few of you commented on already, is a pre-existing condition and something that affects many older adults long before the pandemic, and has almost served to highlight some of those gaps or concerns about the issue. So on that, feel free to either just turn on your mic and answer, or put it into the chat. But are there things that you can think of, and several of you mentioned them already, so feel free to re-mention them, that you think particularly impact older adults, or some of you mentioned seniors, whichever language you're more comfortable with, specifically about social isolation? What are some of the things that happen in life that maybe make this more of an issue or a different issue for older adults? Are there examples you have?
Maybe decreased mobility?
Yeah. Absolutely. So I think that can impact in several ways. One is during the winter, it maybe makes you more nervous, someone more nervous about going outdoors if they have more fear of the ice or snow. It also, if your way of connecting was through a physical activity that you no longer can do, that might reduce some of it. And also your ability to get to places or things that would be places that you would connect. So I think those are some examples, but for sure, decreased mobility can change your behavior in a lot of different ways that might impact your social isolation, for sure.
I think we're finding with our church community that there are many older members who are not not electronically connected. And so they are missing out on that community aspect because they can't participate in services. And we're doing as much as we can to keep in contact, but because it's a generational thing that people expect the church to reach out to them rather than them reach out to the church, there's a bit of a hurdle to be gotten over there.
Some very interesting points there. I think there's two things. We try not to make assumptions, or I at least try not to make assumptions by age on someone's ability to navigate technology. But that doesn't change the fact that we do know that for certain age groups, it is more of a barrier, and to ignore that is also a risk. I don't want to make assumptions about any individual's behavior and try to address each individual I meet with understanding and to learn what they feel comfortable with. But as a group, we do need to be aware that there are some who might not have access or might not have comfort or interest. And sometimes I think it's important to acknowledge that it just might not be interesting to someone really of any age, but specifically if it hasn't been part of your lifestyle, just someone may have the ability to, but say, I just don't want to. That's not how I like to connect. It's not where I feel connected. And those are important things to acknowledge. So thanks for raising that. And I think you also, I think a similar but slightly different thing that you also touched on is this idea of whose responsibility or expectation it is to be reached out to or to do the reaching out. And I think those are some really interesting conversations, which are true to some degree of all adults, but also do have some generational ties to how what the expectation is, and yeah. So I think those are both really interesting points. Thanks for sharing. Anyone else have some things that might impact?
The lack of being able to speak English, being of another language group and feeling unsure of how to communicate.
Yeah, for sure. And again, I think this can impact at all ages, but in older adults, there's a few things that can make this particularly key. Is that if grandparents have come with their families, their roles may be primarily in the home, and they may not have had the same language exposure as younger family members in a new culture. And so I think that's really significant. There's also some things that happen with aging that my grandmother, who spoke English her whole life, that I knew her in her last years, lost her English and reverted only to her first language, which was Japanese. And so there are some changes that happen too that we need to understand. So really interesting points there. Thanks. Some of the, go ahead.
That's okay. I was just going to add in that I think sometimes seniors are in a smaller bubble, in that, they're not out working anymore, or they're not taking children places anymore, or so they just naturally decrease those connections, and that it's just easy to end up with not having any.
Yeah, I think that really good points and some really interesting uses of language there. That idea of there. It is important to note that there are some really natural ways where you may become less connected throughout life, and that is neither positive nor negative, and to just understand them and identify them as a natural part of how our society is structured is I think really significant and helpful to understand. So I know someone talked about retirement. There is things around retirement. You mentioned, not taking your children to things. A lot of adults do connect through their children or other people in their lives. And if you're not in that role anymore, we've often heard empty nesting can create, as part of an aging cycle, does create some lack of connection. There's also things that happen in life, as we age, if you may have an increased number of your friends or family or close connections who pass on, and you lose those in very natural ways also, or sometimes unnatural. And so there are just some things that happen in life that decrease your exposure, your connection, and those things can be very natural, but it isn't necessarily natural to be isolated, or loneliness can come, but it's when we lose all of that connection and we don't find new ways to connect that the risk really exists. Yeah, so I think we've covered a lot of the key things that I had. There's certainly other factors, so if you think of them as we go on, feel free to drop them into the chat. But these are some of the reasons that we're talking about this, and I know you guys have been talking about it already. So I believe that Angie, my colleague Angie, came in and spoke to you guys about the Seniors Age-Friendly strategy. And so I think she said I would expand a little bit more on the participation and inclusion. So I wanted to just jump into that, and we can go ahead, Emma, too. So the participation and inclusion is one of the pillars of the Seniors Age-Friendly strategy. And this is the place where in the strategy, we really, although social isolation is in all of the factors, like we've talked about transportation and housing and all of those types of things, the pillar that's really targeted at addressing social isolation is for a large part through this participation and inclusion. And so some of the key areas of focus within that are that older adults feel welcome and valued in Calgary. Older adults are socially, physically, and intellectually active. Older adults contribute to the well-being of the community, and older adults who want to or need to work are employed. And so, yeah, I think I don't want to dwell on this too much, but just to give you an idea of where this connection is and the value that is placed on it, and some of the work, a lot of the work that we're doing and lots of organizations throughout Calgary are doing to work in those 4 areas. And if you haven't had a chance to look at the strategy, or if you have, you'll notice what it does is it lays out each of the 6 pillars, and then what I've just listed are the key areas within those, and then there's strategies tied to each of those areas also. Some of them are actively being worked on them, and some of them are a little bit more grassroots. Just looking through my notes, I think I'll just keep going. And so one of the areas that I wanted to take a minute and talk to within participation and inclusion was active aging, because I mentioned in Calgary Recreation, and so this is an area that we're particularly involved in. I've jumped ahead on the slide again, Emma. And so we run several different facilities throughout the city of Calgary, like that you might be familiar with: pools, leisure centers, golf courses, arenas, athletic parks, those types of places. And so we took on within result area 2 of the participation and inclusion, there's a result that says older adults are socially, physically, and intellectually active. And so this is a piece that I've really been involved in, and our work through Calgary Recreation on these 3 strategies: encourage formal and informal opportunities, establish a framework, and increase. The first 2 are community. We've worked with several, we've been part of, excuse me. I've clearly been talking too much. Thanks for bearing with me. Yeah, so the first 2 are more community-based. Lots of groups are working on them. The third one was actually something that specifically my department took on. It was to develop an active aging strategy. And as part of that active aging strategy, we've also been part of it. We've created and been part of an active aging action team, which is part of the Seniors Age Friendly strategy, or the Age Friendly Calgary structure, is to have these action teams that report back and are doing the work in the community. And so with several organizations like Calgary Seniors Resource Center, we have worked on active aging goals throughout the city of Calgary. And one of the things that we're doing right now is to contribute to the Stay Connected campaign, which is the social isolation awareness campaign that Age Friendly Calgary took on. And yeah, you can go ahead, Emma. And so that that campaign is just about to launch. So next week, if you went to calgary.ca/stay connected, you would see more information about the campaign. And really what it is looking at is learning more about social isolation, showing ways for older adults who are looking for places to connect. It's inviting all Calgarians to connect. And then there's also a piece that will be less obvious, I think, on the website, but we're also working a lot with all organizations who want to be involved in the campaign. And so I'm just gonna break down, because I think part of why we were invited to talk to you is that we're hoping that this campaign will be a way for some of the things you guys are talking about to either support the work you're already doing, or to give you new ideas in it, or if you're doing things that we should be sharing, feel free to reach out and connect with us also, because that's part of it, is certainly making people aware of what the opportunities are. But so the learning more, or I think you'll find it on the website under the resources page, is really some of the stuff that we've been talking about, is to understand, to help address the problem, we need to understand the problem. And one of the goals is really for people to be able to see themselves in it and understand what it is, how it affects their day-to-day, and how they can contribute, what they can do to enrich experiences, both for themselves and for other people. Because I think hopefully everyone can see themselves in this somewhere. And then the showing ways for older adults to connect, there will be I think it's going to be a things to do page, and this will be for people to get some idea. It's not a complete directory or anything, because those are really problematic and hard to manage, and things change all the time, especially in this world when we go from restrictions and not and back and stuff. But it's more about getting some general ideas, learning about different organizations and places. So there will be things on there that you can go and learn about, or go to, like online fitness classes, or videos to how to do an art project, or discussion groups around a certain topic, or things like that, that people can participate in. Say, if there's a progression, we know that everyone will progress through this kind of content differently, but if you understand, or if you feel disconnected, maybe these are some places or ways you can become connected. Inviting all Calgarians to connect is that piece that, in some languages, this is intergenerational connection. In other languages, it's neighbors helping neighbors. But this is all of that piece of saying, what can I do? So there will be a how to get involved section that will have some simple things to do that can be in that kind of social snacking, like the way to just, how are you reconnect, be friendly, support each other. What are some things that you can do if you're wanting to connect with someone? And then again, I'm not clear on what's going to be on the website, I'm sorry, around the organizational connections, but I think there will be a little bit inviting organizations who want to get involved. But if not, you can always reach out to Emma or I on that. So that's a little bit about that campaign. I'm not sure, we didn't discuss, Emma, do you want to just, I think the next piece is to really get into the, I guess I should have said, in the things to do, one of the tabs will be volunteerism. And so I think that's the next part Emma's going to talk about. Or do you want to pause for questions, or do we want to go on and take questions later?
Whatever you like, AJ, either way.
Okay.
Yeah. Happy to jump right into it if there's no questions.
Yeah,
Okay,
let's keep going.
Okay, perfect. Great. So I'll kind of talk about the volunteer side of things and then go into some volunteer opportunities in Calgary. So by the sounds of it, many of you are volunteering in some way or another. So I won't go through the definitions. I'm sure you guys are more or less familiar with it. But maybe I'll just say, like, the informal volunteering, like an example of that would be like helping, but like AJ mentioned, like neighbors helping neighbors, helping people in your community that isn't formalized through an organization. And how volunteerism kind of ties in with age-friendly Calgary strategies through their strategy A, which AJ talked about. So that's participation and social and inclusion. So volunteering really touches on, older adults feeling welcomed and valued, older adults being socially, physically, and intellectually active, and older adults contributing to the well-being of the community. And then also, just as a side note, the World Health Organization also identifies being able to contribute to society as a key pillar of healthy aging. Perfect. So now I'll go into volunteering later in life. So volunteers 65 plus, so older adults, really play an integral role in volunteering in Canada. So just a quick stat for you guys. So last year, retiree volunteers contributed over 3 million hours to the volunteer and nonprofit sector. So that represents over a $60 billion contribution to the Canadian economy. And out of all the age groups that volunteer, on average, they volunteer about twice as many hours. So it really is, the impact and the that they have is really huge. And because of this voluntary and unpaid activity, retirees in Canada are increasingly being viewed by society as productive citizens who make a valuable social and economical contribution outside the paid labor force. So why do older adults volunteer? I'm sure you all have your reasons why you're either volunteering or you're interested in volunteering. So I listed a few of the key ones there. Maybe expanding your social network, being a productive member of society and contributing to your community, sharing your knowledge and experience with those in your community as well. And one of the things we notice a lot in our program, so in our volunteer department, is we have a lot of senior volunteers, but we have a lot of volunteers who are both accessing our services and volunteering at the same time. So there might be one area that they need some help with, like maybe they need help getting to some medical appointments once in a while, but they're also still able, maybe they still drive, they just can't take themselves to their eye appointment or to surgery, for example, or maybe they volunteer in the friendly visiting program, but need help getting their groceries. So that's a trend that we've noticed that continues to kind of to grow. So from there, I'll go into more about us. So at Calgary Seniors, our mandate is to provide a depth of support to vulnerable seniors, which creates meaningful and effective change in their overall well-being and quality of life. So that's our agency as a whole. And then the department I work for is Senior Social Supports. So as I mentioned, we provide volunteer services to seniors to help them aging in place. So our department mandate is to ignite Calgarians to provide practical and social support for isolated seniors. And in turn, their lives, communities, and organizations are enriched by the meaningful relationships that are created. So we really focus on seniors with limited social capital, so they don't have a lot of resources like someone to take them to their medical appointment or to take them grocery shopping if they weren't able to. And often they're socially isolated, so they don't have that social support. And for us, we focus 65 plus. Our goal, like one of our main focuses, is not only to decrease social isolation, but to enable seniors to continue to age in place, so remain in their community. So I'll go over some of the programs that we offer. So first on the list there is friendly visiting. So that's pretty straightforward. So it's volunteers visiting seniors. Pre-COVID, it was in their home, but now most of it's happening over the phone. So through our friendly check-in program. And that's a one-on-one match. So it's the same volunteer contacting the same senior. So just so there's that opportunity for a relationship to develop. And then we have our volunteer drop-off program. So that we created at the beginning of COVID because we didn't want seniors to have to go into the grocery stores, and a lot of our clients weren't comfortable going to get their groceries anymore. So in this program, volunteers do the grocery shopping for the seniors and then drop it off at their home. So we anticipate that program will roll it back as the restrictions ease and our clients want to go back and do their own shopping, which leads me into our shopping companion program. So that program is again a one-on-one match. So there's the social aspect, but the volunteer takes the senior to the grocery store every 2 weeks and they do their grocery shopping together. But because it is that one-on-one match model, there is that opportunity also for relationships and friendships. And then we have our tier meal program. So that's sending our clients letters in the mail. So it could be for their birthday, a get well, or just a simple cheer mail, like just to brighten their day. We started that program because we had a lot of volunteer interest, and the feedback we get from our clients is they love getting something that isn't a bill in their mailbox, which I would also love. And then we have our Caring Companion program. So that program is really focused on caregivers and care recipients. So the goal of the program is to provide the caregiver with some respite and then companionship to the care recipient. So it's similar in a sense to friendly visiting, except there's also the caregiver who gets a break as well. And then we have our Practical Kindness program. So that's kind of our catch-all program for the odd requests we get. So it could be anything that kind of helps the senior stay in their home. So maybe it's taking out the garbage or changing a light bulb. We also provide some tech support, so helping them set up their computer or their TV, any kind of ride to the bank, any kind of odd thing you can think of that that you might need to do. And And then our essential transportation program, so that's our biggest program. And one of the biggest needs we see is for transportation. So through that program, we help seniors, our clients, get to their medical appointments. And it is all volunteer drivers. So there is that little bit of a social aspect, but it's not a one-on-one match. We use a scheduling program for that. And right now we have about 1,300 active clients and about 400 active volunteers, just to give you an idea of the size. And we're looking at opening that program up to include other kind of wellness trips. So we would like to open it up to include rides to other services in their community, like an exercise class or an event in their community. And obviously this is when restrictions open up, but so that's because we see the need for that. And then we have our Pet Assist program, so that's where we help seniors care for their companion animals. So basically anything a volunteer can do to help the senior. So it could be changing cat litter, taking dogs for a walk, pet supply support, anything like that. Perfect. So I'll move on, but if you have any questions or you're curious about any of our programs, they can all be found on our website there. Perfect. So I talked a lot about the volunteer programs that we offer, but there are lots of volunteer opportunities in Calgary. And one of the great resources or like ways to find out who's looking for what kind of volunteers is Volunteer Connector. So it's this great website that you can go to and you can filter by your interests and what you would like to do and the area that you're willing to go to, and it will give you a list. And it also, the organizations detail what kind of volunteers they're looking for and the commitment and all that. So it really is, if you are interested in getting involved somewhere, it's a great place to start your search. And just for example, a few of the places that are senior focused and looking for volunteers right now are, there's always us, there's Silvera for Seniors, Jewish Family Services, Calgary Chinese Elderly Community Association, Bethany. They're all on there and looking for volunteers. So it is a great tool. And then there's, oops, I skipped it. Let me see if I can figure out how to go back here. Yes. There's also the Volley app, which is a relatively newer site on the scene, but it has the great feature of the map. But it is very similar to Volunteer Connector. So same idea. You can see like active posts from people who are looking for volunteers. And yeah, so it's very similar to Volunteer Connector, but a great place to look if you're looking to volunteer. Okay, that's pretty much it from me. So we can open it up to questions and any discussion points. For AJ or I, so either the first half or the second half of the presentation.
It's Diana. I'm just assuming that to have access to these, all the information of access, contacts, whatever, are on the website, are they? And anyone can just go in if they need some of those or would like to, either take part as a volunteer or if they need some of that support.
Yeah, absolutely. And any of the programs we offer, clients can, or like if you're interested in the services, there is a referral form on our website that people can look to. So either if you're looking to volunteer, someone's looking to volunteer, or they're interested in some of the services, they can submit an application on our website or just give us a call, and our number is also on our website.
Emma, do you work with New Canadians? or is that the Calgary Immigration Society? Do you have any connection with them?
We do work with recent immigrants, but mostly because they're referred to us, like to our programs. We don't like specifically work with them. But if there is, for example, language barriers, we do our best to either have a translator through one of the social workers in our office or volunteers who speak a second language. So we definitely have clients who don't speak English, or English, the language is a barrier for them. And we will work with either resources within our organization or external resources to still provide that support.
Okay, thank you.
I did just pop the Stay Connected working website into the chat. If you want to take a look at the sneak peek that's available right now, you can. I'd ask maybe don't share this site yet. Like I said, the full launch will be next week. So some of the pieces we talked about aren't there yet. But if you wanted to start to get a scope for what it is and how it will work, you could take a look at that. But like I said, please don't share it yet, and come back for sure later. Was the information shared, was there some new pieces to you in what was shared today, or there's things that you can see a connection to how you're wanting to continue? I think many of you talked about either things you're already involved in or trying to plan for the future to become more involved again with older adults. Do you find is there something in there that you can connect to or take away?
I feel excited about the website. I'm really glad that Calgary Seniors and the city are working together on this. Yeah, like there's all these different pieces, the pieces of having opportunities listed somewhere so that people can see what they're interested in. And I love the idea about people that receive services might also have an opportunity to give services, because that would be so much more fulfilling for them to feel like they're involved. So yeah, I like all your ideas today.
Thanks. Yeah, I thanks for picking up on that point that Emma made, and I think it's a really important one. Is we all have something to give, and we all have something to receive, and to be able to place ourselves in both of those things, or at some points in our lives we can only do one or the other, and that's okay. But I think that's really cool. Yeah, thanks. And I should just point out, there are several organizations involved in pulling this campaign together. Certainly, the Calgary Seniors Resource Centre has been really involved, but we should also point out the United Way has also been involved in the campaign, as really leading it with us as well. And there are several other groups, as you see, and as the website begins to become more populated again, it's just a skeleton of what's up there now, but you'll see all kinds of involvement from professors at the University of Calgary to all different organizations who are sharing information and contributing. So it really is, as most things are with Age Friendly Calgary, it really is a community and collaborative effort.
I was really interested to hear how much volunteering is done by seniors it's such a great way to value the things that seniors can do and the experiences that they've had. Because maybe you're retired and maybe you don't have the time or energy anymore for a full-time job, but then that's a great opportunity to get involved in something that you're really passionate about and maybe do it on your schedule or whatever. But it's a great way for seniors to still be connected.
And with age comes what you said is experience. And older adults have so much to give back, so much that they've learned or mastered in life that really is valuable to the volunteer force. I'm not sure, Emma, if you have anything else to add on that, but cool point.
No, yeah, absolutely. It's I think the role they play is so integral to the community, and that's really shown through even just the amount of volunteering and hours that they contribute. So yeah, definitely.
Something that I'm not really sure that sorry.
Thank you so much for having us and engaging in conversation with us. Emma, I think, is there any closing remarks you had?
I think Susan was in the middle of a question, sorry.
I was just looking at what part of what you said and something that was said earlier about retirement. That might be a focus because, you know, when somebody retires who's had a full-time job, I was a teacher, you have to construct a whole new life for yourself. And volunteering, of course, is one way to make new connections and new groups. I mean, I'm no longer in contact with my former colleagues, who were my support group when I was teaching, I guess. But retirement is not all sailing off into the sunset in the Caribbean. You have to work at it. But all these volunteer opportunities are a wonderful way to keep you in the loop, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And just speaking from our organization, our volunteer intake, we definitely do get a significant amount of volunteers who reach out to us just after they've retired, and they're looking for to bring back some of that structure and give back and yeah, join a new community. So yeah, absolutely.
I think that probably throughout life, you always sort of recognize or identify where you're at right now. You see that or whatever. Like I can remember back when I was pregnant, it seemed like everyone was pregnant. That's what I saw everywhere. So I'm getting close to retirement age now. I guess I'm seeing that a lot. But I think that from this pandemic, in healthcare and education, the huge change in how we needed to work has caused a lot of people to choose to retire. So I think that this is probably a key time to get that group of people connected with these volunteer resources and starting that as they start to remodel their life, get them on board with volunteering. So
yeah, absolutely. And I don't know how much it's correlated, but our volunteer base did double over COVID. So I think people also being at home, more time on their hands. But interesting you say that there was an increase in people deciding to retire because for whatever, we definitely felt it on our end as well.
I think maybe AJ has maybe gone out. I can't see her. Maybe she couldn't hear anyone. So
yeah, I think she was gonna try going out and back in, but I don't know if that will work or not.
Yeah, Well, if not, we can wrap up for AJ.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm sure AJ would say, just thank you guys so much for having us today. It was a pleasure to have the opportunity to talk about the work that we're doing through the social isolation campaign and age friendly, and then a little bit about volunteering and giving me the chance to share about the programs that we run. So Marina, thank you so much for inviting us, and thank you all for, it was really engaging. I really enjoyed being here today. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Emma.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
The information was really great.
I'm glad. Yeah. Well, if there's anything you'd like us to share afterwards, then we'd be happy to as well. Or if anyone thinks of any questions.
Sure, thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, have a great afternoon.
You too.
How is everyone else feeling? Would we like to take a quick 5-minute break before continuing, or should we just dive in and finish it up? Nancy votes for dive in. Anybody else have a preference?
Dive in.
Dive in.
Otherwise, we
Sounds good.
we'll never get back. It's herding cats.
Okay. Are you here, Francois?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi.
Do you want to maybe give a quick overview of your ageism module and, I don't know, any exciting learnings you had, or just your comments on the experience of making that?
Sure.
Thank
So yeah, the whole thing was a really great experience for me. I got some emails a couple months ago from a couple of you volunteers, which I really appreciated. And from those, I really got an emphasis on talking about listening to older adults and remembering their capabilities. So I really wanted to incorporate that into the module. It is only a 15-minute module, so there was so much that I wanted to put in there, and I tried to keep everything in. One of the main things in making it that I think I wanted to focus on as well was the 2 types of ageism, which I don't know if any of you have taken the module yet, but I do discuss that a little bit in there. The benevolent ageism and malevolent ageism, and the benevolent version being engaging in ageist tendencies towards people that you think you're just being compassionate and helpful, but maybe at the same time, you also have some belief that you're doing this because older adults are incapable and you have to do these things for them. And I think that was really important to put in there for me, because this is going out to volunteers, and especially for people volunteering with older adults. I mean, it's always good to make sure that you're not engaging in that. Like, as a volunteer, we're all, like, even in any interactions with older adults, really, we're just engaging with other capable adults. It's not that we're volunteering because we have something that they don't, that we can lord over them. Like, that is a very silly notion to me. So I thought that was super important to put in there. And also then a lot of people will say things like blanket terms like ageism is prevalent, but I kind of wanted to dig into that with some concrete examples, like how is it prevalent at home? How is it prevalent in the media and in the workplace and in medical care settings? And yeah, I think I did that with some solid examples, because even sitting around with peers, there are jokes being made, even older adults making jokes at their own expense, like of their age, that I think these are all things we have to pick up on and kind of change. Like, one of the examples I put in was the typical birthday joke, like, oh, I'm 35 for the 10th year or something. Why? Like, say how old you are. Everybody, like, that's beautiful. Everybody's a certain age and there's no bias there, or there shouldn't be. And so, yeah, just making the module was a really good experience. I really appreciate all the input about it as well. And I hope that you all like it, if you've taken it or if you have yet to take it. I hope it's good. I hope I did you proud.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did anybody have questions about the module?